He's coming in. Okay, Beruchim Abayim. We want to thank Aiki Bahar for always having his home open, for giving out such great food, and for being the person that he is. We want to thank also Rabbi Yaakov Elbaz for putting this together and always being there to help out the community in every way possible.
Thank you.
Shkai. Okay, this is going to be recorded. It's going to be on iTorah and a couple of things right now. So, no jokes, Hezi.
Sorry, I don't appreciate
Nothing
it.
embarrassing. And now we waited for you, Gili. We waited for you, so now we can start. Okay, now, this year, we're going to try to do this quickly because we're a little bit late already. Everyone's eating. This year, we have erev pesach shechali b'Shabbat. Erev pesach falls out on Shabbat. So there's a lot of different dinim, a lot of different halachot that we all have to know. And each one is detrimental and important to make sure that we have a holiday that's kosher, right? Chag kasher v'sameach. Most people here, I believe, are staying home. The ones that are going to hotels, good luck with that. Hopefully it'll be kosher. I'm going to a hotel, so whatever. I'm trying to be the mashgiach there also to make sure everything's good. Now, I put on top of the paper, first of all, the zmanim. All the zmanim that you need to know, basically. March 25th, Thursday, bedikat hametz after Tzet HaKochavim, which is 8:09. The 26th, Friday, bi'ur hametz, latest time 12:10. March 27th, erev pesach, Shabbat. You can eat hametz until 10:55. That's on Shabbat. We're going to explain exactly how to eat and what to eat. Do you eat matzah? Do you eat challah? How do you do lechem mishneh if you don't have it? Among a lot of different questions that come up. Sudash Lishit, when you do it, right? According to Sfaradim, according to Ashkenazim, there's a machloket when to do Sudash Lishit. We're going to speak about that as well. And after 12:10, you have to get rid of the hametz. This is talking about on Shabbat. 8:10 Shabbat is over, and you can start preparing for Pesach, because there's a din hachana. You're now going to prepare from Shabbat to Pesach, to Yom Tov. So you have to make sure that you only start doing it after 8:10. We're going to discuss all these things. Chatzot Laila, which is the time when you have to eat the afikoman by, is going to be 1:25 a.m. Now, I put a little insight over there. Make sure you sell the chametz. A lot of people forget to sell it, and we have the issues. Okay, you have the chametz in a different city, in a different time zone, in Israel, over here. You're going to a hotel. Do you sell your house? Do you don't sell your house? Do you close up rooms? All these things we're not going to discuss in this shi'ud. We can talk about it after. Now, the basic halachot. First of all, when erev pesach is on Shabbat, bedikat hametz is performed on the night of the 13th. It's performed on the 13th, which is the day before. We always do bedikat hametz on Yud Daled. This year it's on Thursday night, which is Yud Gimel. We do it the same way that we do it every year, but it's not considered chametz like it is on all other years, because you can still eat it by Shabbat, which we're going to see how that works. Bi'ur chametz, and the reason why we still do bi'ur chametz, right? Because if you're allowed to eat it, then why are we burning the chametz? The answer is, Rabbi David brings it down. He brings it down for the Mahashtam, among others, that you shouldn't forget how to do it, and that we have the minhag to do it every year, so we keep to it. So we're going to have bi'ur chametz the next day on Friday. You're going to say the regular kal chamira that we say every year, kal chamira bedikat b'shuti, kal chamira for the Ashkenazim, and you're going to burn and get rid of anything that you don't need for Shabbat. Once you hit the time for Shabbat, you save as little as possible. You'll find by the Sfaradim in general, they try to just use pita, because pita is not messy, it doesn't have crumbs, and they'll save a couple of pitas, they'll save it for the night meal and for the day meal. So Dash Lishit, we're going to speak about how that's going to work. But the minhag is, as we're going to see, the minhag is to use bread still. Rabbi David is going to bring down a big thing that you can use matzah. And we're going to see how that is not really the minhag, even though if you hold of it, that's great. The Arlet Zion says not to do it. The minhag for the Sfaradim is not to do it. Minhag for the Ashkenazim is for sure not to do it. And we're going to talk about that in a moment. We're going to go in depth in all these different things. Now, since Kal Chamira, that we say on Thursday night, we're supposed to say it again after we nullify the chametz, which is after the burning. Since you're allowed to eat the chametz still until Shabbat, as we said, until Shabbat at 10:55, the Kal Chamira we're going to say on Shabbos and not on the weekday. So you're going to say Kal Chamira by bedikat hametz after bedikas hametz, and then we're going to wait and say the next kach hamira, which is going to be on Shabbat itself.
Question?
Yeah.
You're saying, is it any different than usual? The Chachmir that we say on Shabbos?
Okay, it's a very good question. So there is I didn't put it in here, but there is I wouldn't say a machloket, but there is different opinions exactly what kach hamira we say. Some people put in the word hefker. Some people put in the word hefker. The Arletzian says you should put it in. The Rabbi David says you should put it in. I don't know if the Ashkenazim have the minhag to put in the word hefker.
I'm not sure.
So,
Nice to take it out on Shabbos.
since you don't want to be mafkir on Shabbos, the Arletzian brings down by the third time that you say it, right? Because we have the minhag to say it 3 times. By the third time that you say kach hamira, you should have in mind hefker, but you shouldn't say it straight out. So technically there'll be a difference if you have the minhag to do hefker. I don't have the minhag to put in hefker. I don't know about the Ashkenazim, but for the ones who do, don't say it on Shabbat. Just have in mind by the last time that you say it. Now we know that on erev pesach you're not allowed to do melacha. You can't do any work after a certain time. You're not allowed to shave even. You can't shave. You can't get haircuts after chatzot unless you have no way other to do it. You couldn't do it in the morning. Then we hold that you could do it after. Now in this year, since erev pesach is on Shabbat, you're allowed to do whatever you want on Friday as long as it doesn't take away from your preparation for pesach. A good thing to know also, I put it in parenthetically, on erev Shabbat, you should clean the lettuce that you're using for the maror and keep it in a wet cloth. Some people have this minhag, they don't want to ruin the lettuce. After they check it, they have to wash it, so they put it into water. Putting it into water is a big issue, because if you put it into water for more than 24 hours, it's considered kavush kemavushal. It's considered like it's in brine, and that's like it's being cooked if it's for 24 hours. And if it's being cooked, you can't use it for maror. So just make sure you don't do that. Just have the regular lettuce that you use and put it in a wet cloth. Try to check it before so you can go straight into the seder how it's supposed to be. Now, like we said, number 6, bread or halachot should be kept for the lechem.
Horseradish.
What do you want to know about it?
For the Ashkenaz, for maror, I don't know.
Oh.
Some use the lettuce, some use the
Right. Right. They have a potato and a carrot and a... Right.
No jokes.
No. You guys have the... We'll talk about what Ashkenazim do after. A lot of problems. Now you have to keep the 2 breads. Bread for lechem mishneh, you got to keep the pita or the challah for the morning and for the night.
So what do you do, make a Suda?
So now what do you do about the seudah? Right?
I think you gotta be done by 10:55.
Right, so what's the minhag? The minhag is, Rabbi David brings it down, the Ashkenazim definitely do it, which you're going to see in a second. You have to have 3 meals on Shabbat, or we should have 3 meals on Shabbat. We have Friday night, we have Shabbat day, and then we have also Suda Shalishit. So now, the Sfaradim, like we said, have the minhag to use regular chalot. So they're going to use the regular chalot Friday night, and the next day they're going to daven early, they're going to pray early so they can have the regular meal and finish by 10:55. And they're going to do Suda Shalishit after Zman Mincha. Right? Zman Mincha. They're going to tell you after Chatzot, right? 30 minutes after Zman Mincha, that's when you're allowed to already have Suda Shalishit. And since we're not allowed to have any bread, because bread is going to be asud, because we already passed the time that hametz is going to be nullified and asud, and you're not allowed to eat matzah, because what's the din hazing? The halacha is you have to wait till the night to eat the first matzah. So you're not allowed to eat matzah, you're not allowed to eat hametz. So what do? We eat fruit. You eat fruit or you eat matzah ashira, right? Matzah ashira, which is egg matzah or fruit juice matzah, to make a mizonot on it. So if you make a mizonot, and this is, you can't even have...
No hamotzi, this...
Not going to be no hamotzi. Now Rabbi David does have a very interesting din. Rabbi David says, okay, let's try to make it.
Do you eat enough mizonot, maybe?
Okay, yeah. So if you eat four egg matzahs, which is a lot, then you can already wash on it, and then you can make the hamotzi. Now you want to be yotzeh. That's nice. Rabbi David says something else. He says, I have a way that you can eat matzah. He says, don't have any bread the whole Shabbat. He says, matzah you can eat Friday night. Why can you eat it Friday night? Because it's not the day. It only starts in the day where you can't have the matzah. Not according to Ashkenazim, who they start from Rosh Chodesh or Adar.
I thought you're not supposed to wait 30 days until you can...
That's the Ashkenazim.
Wow.
Ashkenaz?
I went to Ashkenaz school, that's what it was.
For everyone in iTorah. So now you have, you're allowed to eat it at night, he says. I said that in the day, you want to be yotzei the mitzvah of eating hamotzi. What do? He said you take a whole matzah, you make sure it's not cracked. He said, and you put it into like a soup, or you fry it. You can fry it before Shabbat. If you do it on Shabbat, then he says, put it into a kli sheni, and then you put in the matzah. It gets the flavor of the matzah, of the soup, or whatever you put it in, or the oil. You can't use it for the night, for the seder night. Memelo, you're allowed to eat it in the day, and you still make a hamotzi on it. You hear such a beautiful pshat, Yaakov? It's a nice pshat. Now the minhag still, from my poskim and from the Olei Tzion, the minhag is that we don't do tigun, we don't fry it, and we don't put it in the soup, because according to some mandamnim, according to some rabbis, it's still going to be an issue that you're not allowed to use it for seder night. So for the most part, we're not going to go with Rabbi Vadia with this. And we're gonna be yotzei the mitzvah with enough matzah ashira mezonot, or if you want to make a hamotziana, eat enough, or with fruit. Now that's for the Sfaradim. For the Ashkenazim eat bread always. They have bread Friday night. They're gonna have bread in the day also. They're also gonna daven early, and the minhag is like the Gra, the Mishnah Berurah brings it down. And I asked the posek Rabbi Nelkenbaum from Brooklyn, and he said this is what he does also. They're gonna have a break in the morning, right? L'Ashkenazim. They have a break. They go and they have a little bit of a kezayit. They eat a little bit of food. That's their yotzei, the mitzvah for their Shabbat meal. They're gonna bench. They will take a walk around the block. They come back in, and they're going to make the hamotzi for Suda Shilishit. Now, according to Sfaradim, it doesn't work because Maran says no. You got to do it after. You have to do it after Chatzot, after Mincha. According to Ashkenazim, since there's some rabbis that say you could be yotzei before, they do it before and they split it up to be yotzei, those rabbis. And I heard from, in the name of Rosh Hashanah Auerbach, Rabbi Nelkenbaum told me as well, and there's a person in this room named Jacob Shulman who specifically called Rav Shmuel Kamenetsky and says, Rabbi, what do you do? And Rav Shmuel Kamenetsky says he takes the break, he does Suda Shilishit, and then he makes sure after the Zman Mincha to eat food, to be yotzei everything. Right, so that's what Ashkenazim would do. Sfaradim wouldn't do that. We would just have our nice little meal until the time we'll make the kal chamirah, which Ashkenazim do also. And then after Zman Mincha, we're going to have the fruit, or the matzah ashira. Ashkenazim do not eat matzah ashira, so they can't be yotzei with matzah ashira by Suda Shilishit. Because according to them, it's considered hametz. So right after the Zman of burning the hametz, when you can't eat hametz, you can't eat matzah ashira either, so they can't have that. Do we have both sides over here? Do we have? I wrote it down inside of it. Huh?
Egg matzah is hametz?
Yeah, according to Ashkenazim, they shouldn't be eating it. It's a Ramah. The Ramah brings down. He says for a choleh or a zakin, for a person sick or a zakin, then they can eat it. But for the most part, they don't look at it that it's a good thing to do, and that's why they're not even going to eat it after Zman bir chametz on Shabbat. Right? Good to know. Next thing.
Are you going to get back to the Shabbos morning meal?
No, talk about it now.
So you have to finish everything by 10:55, or you just have to finish the challah? Can you continue eating?
It's a good question. So according to number 7, like we have over here, how should you have the meal? Right? So you're going to have the meal. Do you eat chametz or you do not eat chametz? So Rabbi Vadia brings it down, the Olei Tzion, the Ashkenazim for sure go like this, and Rabbi Nelkenbaum Paskin does it also, that you're going to make sure to eat kosher lepesach, kasher lepesach
That's
food.
true. That was the whole thing. Why don't you just prepare your Friday night meal with kosher for Passover food?
Exactly, that's what they should say. They say you should do
That's-
for a number of reasons. First of all, kasher lepesach, because then you don't have to deal with the whole thing after. You want to nullify what's inside. You're going to throw it down the toilet now, it's going to be a big pain. And even if you don't throw it down the toilet, there's just little lachluch, there's garbage on the pot. Now, if you want to go and clean it, there could be a problem with hachana. You want to prepare. You're going to clean it and put it away. That's preparing for the next day. It's preparing for after the holiday. We don't do that. So they say you should make it in a Pesach pot, or you should make it in a tin. Use plastic or regular silverware for Pesach. The bread you should eat, as Rabbi Nelkenbaum told me, eat it in a different place. He says he eats it on the side. He eats his kezayit, he comes to his table, he eats his meal, he takes his little walk around the block, he benches, takes his walk around the block, he comes back, he eats another kezayit from the bread, away from the table, so nothing gets messed up, and then he eats his Pesach meal. He eats it in tins, in plastic, or like Rabbi Vadia and the other rabbis say that you could eat it with all your Pesach dishes, and then you have no problem even washing it after. Answers? Make sense?
No.
Okay, talk to me.
I'm saying, so if I'm not doing a double meal, the like first meal, then the I'm not gonna do that.
Why?
I don't know, maybe, let's say I won't.
Okay.
So, do I have to end the first meal by 10:55 or?
Yeah. You end it.
Have to end the meal or just stop
You
eating?
have to make,
Oh no.
Hametz.
No. You just have to. You have to wait till. You're saying if you say the bedikat hamazon after the 10:55, does that mean that no? It goes by the eating of the hametz.
okay.
Yeah.
But say the kol chamir before.
Right. You still say the kol chamir, the kol.
Thank you.
So I didn't kal. Ashkenazi kol.
You make hamotzi in one place, you go eat your meal somewhere else.
Hey, you could see it. Why not?
In a
It's
different
not
one?
kiddush. Kiddush b'makom suda, then that's going to be an issue. Regarding
Backyard?
eating, it could be in the same house.
Backyard a lot?
Yes, I heard.
Yeah, backyard would be the best thing because then everything flies in the wind. You won't have any items.
Inside, outside.
You have to have
think
two
it's okay.
pieces of bread because if you want to finish everything, not necessarily going to eat that much bread.
So then you're going to have to flush it down the toilet. You take it, you flush it down the toilet. Maybe in Hollywood it'll be different if you have an erev, so you want to take it and throw it into the window or something like that. But putting it in your garbage could be an issue. So we're not going to do that. So you flush it down the toilet for the most part. But you get exactly what you need.
Use 2 pieces of bread and
Yeah,
whatever.
eat 2 pieces of bread. Yeah, 4 kids. You cut the pita into 3. 3 is already kazait. You take the challah roll, you cut it into 2, and that's already good. And then you have it made. Easy. If a person only has 1 challah, they actually bring down, I didn't put this in the notes, they say you can actually take a matzah and a challah and you put it together like this, make sure they don't touch, so you have the lechem mishneh, because there's a din of having lechem mishneh. So you can even do it with both. According to Sfaradim, Ba'atzim, there's a bigger issue, because Sfaradim make a mezonot the whole year on matzah. Ashkenazi make a hamotzi, so they have no problem Friday night, they have no problem Surash Lishit. Sfaradim, you have to make a mezonot on it, but still, you're allowed to use it as a hamotzi this time. Moving right along. Okay, and I wrote down number 9 that you make sure to you make sure to wash out your mouth. You know, if you hold brushing your teeth is okay, so then you brush your teeth. You lose Listerine, whatever you want to do to make sure that you have nothing in your mouth because you don't want to swallow anything after. Now after,
Oh, Listerine, that's a good one, isn't it?
if Listerine, you know what? Is it kasher the Pesach? It's not. There's alcohol in it. I think you have to use scope, right? I think it's scope, not Listerine. Scratch that one. Now, the issue on Shabbat is like this. In the beginning of the 6th hour, after the 5th hour, when you can't eat matzah anymore because you have to wait till the Seder night, on Shabbat, the matzah is going to become muksa. It's mukseh. You're not allowed to even touch it. Because since you can't use it, you're makbid not to use it, you're not allowed to touch it. So memela, it's going to be muksa to you. So you have to use this, it depends what type of mukseh it is. Rabbi Brown, what type of mukseh do you think matzah is going to go into? So the Akut Yosef brings down, if you have so much of it, so then it's not going to be mukseh machmas chayser on kiss, and it's going to be much less of a problem. Because mukseh machmat isur, it's an isur to eat, so you're allowed to move it out of its place, or if you want to use that item for itself, for the lechem mishneh itself, so then it wouldn't be a problem. But if you have only a few of them, let's say you only have a few, so it could be a bigger issue. But the Maaseh, it's going to go into the din of mukseh.
Why would quantity change that? I mean, each piece I'm still there, not to break.
Right, but if you have, that's true, but if you have so much of it, that you would be willing to give it to your kids, right? It wouldn't be mukseh for your kids, right? If they don't know what Pesach is, so you could give regular matzah to your children. So since you could give it to your children, because you have so much of it, the same thing would apply if you have so much for the Seder night. But in a Hanami, if you have only a few that are whole and you need to use them because these are the ones that are lishma, or you made them, so yeah, then it could be an issue.
After the time when we're not allowed to have cups anymore, shouldn't that also be a sort of Tavshel Shabbos?
Yeah, that's when it's asur.
Oh, there's a matzah.
Yeah. Oh, hametz itself.
Your hametz itself, you find in your house.
Yeah, you have to you have to do it before the zman that you have to do biur. That's when you have to get rid of the hametz.
If in a case you find and it's on Shabbos past that zman, it should be also mutzah.
Right. So you're gonna if it's a large, let's say it's more than a kazayit, right? If it's less than a kazayit, then it's considered nothing. We're not going to be worried about that. More than a kazayit, you're going to have to cover it, or you tell a goy to move it, or something like that. right? Because you're not even supposed to see it. Good question. That's good. Okay, regarding sleeping on Shabbat. So let's say you want to sleep on Shabbat, so you want to stay up for the Seder night. That's going to be no problem as long as you don't have in mind specifically to sleep in order to stay up at night. Why? Because that again goes into the issue of hachana, preparing, and we don't prepare. So you have your regular sleep. You don't say I'm sleeping in order to stay awake for the night, and that would be fine.
Is the problem with thinking or the problem with specifically speaking or even thinking?
Pashtas thinking would be okay. Because v'daber davar, even in v'daber davar, it doesn't go by machshava. Right? There's no isur to think about your work on Shabbat. Right? It's better not to. So this would go into the same thing. Now number 16 says, one may not set his table for the Seder until after bin hashemashot of Motzei Shabbat. So we said in the beginning, when is the time that you're allowed to, that Shabbat's going to be over? Because you're now let it...
Second one tonight, I see my wife.
But
Right.
you can do it before Shabbat.
How are you going to do it? You have to eat Shabbat.
I'm just
Well, actually, I've been waiting it outside.
Right, in Echanami, then that would be okay. He brings them from Rabbi David. I don't understand it fully, but he brings them from Rabbi David. What if you're having a massive seudah with a lot of people? He said even bin Hashem Hashot, you're allowed to do it. It's in the notes on the bottom. So bin Hashem Hashot, if you're having a lot of people, I don't really get it, but I credit it because Rabbi David said it. It's in the beginning. I don't remember. 8:10. Now, what do we do?
It's actually cheap to eat early. Because we want to eat early because you have Seder pesah. What's the earliest we can start?
It's, whenever Zman Mincha is, when is that? I don't know. 1:35 maybe? Early. You're not going to eat for another 7 hours anyway, 6 hours until Shabbat is over. But yeah, you definitely shouldn't fill up on it, so you should be hungry for the Seder. What do we do this year about Ta'anit Bechorot? Right? So the Shulchan Aruch brings down Thursday. Rabbi Ovadia says it's a really machloket because it's a yesh veyesh in Shulchan Aruch, and according to the Sfaradim, we go with the yesh batra, which says that you don't have to have a siyum at all. But he says still do it, and all the Tzion brings down still do it. The Ashkenazim, I believe, still do it. They're going to do it Thursday. But he does say that if someone's fasting for his child who's not bar mitzvah yet, then he doesn't have to. That's not going to be an issue. My posek told me that really we shouldn't be pushing it off. We make a siyum anyway and just do it Friday. So if you don't do it Thursday, you do it Friday. I actually just heard a story from Rav Chaim Kanievsky because his father, the Stipler, also had a machla. He didn't know exactly when to do it, Thursday or Friday. And Rav Chaim, who makes a siyum on Kol HaTorah Kula, and Kol HaTorah Kula, he makes a siyum. He did it on Thursday. But he wanted to be Yotzei the mitzvah on Friday also, so he finished the Masechet. Which Masechet did he finish? Baba Batra, 176 pages. He finished it in one day, just to get to the next thing. And when they said, why did he pick that one? He said, I wanted to see if I could finish it. Okay, he knew he could finish it, but he did it anyway to be Yotzei the Wednesday and the Thursday. He said, Ta'anit Bechorot. This year, okay, since it ends on Motzei Shabbat, I put in that you should make sure to say Todi'eni. There's a special bedikat that we say in the middle of Amidah, Todi'eni, when it ends up on Motzei Shabbat. We also have Yak Nahaz. Yak Nahaz is Yain Kiddush Ner Havdalah Zman. You know that, Gili? Yain Kiddush Ner Havdalah Zman? Okay, it's in all the Machzorim. You look in the Machzor, it tells you exactly how to do this Havdalah. Because since Motzei Shabbat, you have to Havdalah when you're supposed to do it, so you do it in middle. So you make the regular Seder, you do Kiddush, you do Yain, Nachon, Hagefen, Kiddush, then you do Ner, then you do Havdalah, and then you have Zman, which is Shechianu. We don't do Besamim. There's a dispute, there's a machloka between Ashkenazim and Sfaradim. When do you do the Shechianu? According to the Sfaradim, Rabbi David is very makbar on this. He said you should switch your minhag if you don't do it. We make sure to do Shechianu in middle of Kiddush. Ashkenazim have the minhag that they do it by candlelighting. The woman does it. Now, if the woman does it by candlelighting, and then the man's going to do it again, according to Ashkenazim, by Kiddush, the woman should not answer Amen. Because then it's a hefsek in the beracha, and it's a big issue. So Ashkenazim are going to do it by the candlelighting and by Kiddush, the woman and the man. Sfaradim only do it by Kiddush, which is the man. Okay, I'm finished with this one. Now we're up to the next part of this shi'ur.
Do we say Shechianu the second day?
believe so.
Every time.
I think we do.
The second day, not the last day.
Right. Right. I believe we do say it. Right. We're going to say Hallel also at night, in the middle of praying, and the Ashkenazim don't do it. Big thing. If the Ashkenazim come to the Sephardi minyan, it's Sephardi to Ashkenazim minyan. And that happens to me, even the Hadlakat Norot in general. I know Rav Moshe says he doesn't know where the minhag comes from, that Ashkenazim do it, that the woman does it in the middle of candle lighting, but he says if the minhag is like that, you keep it. What are you going to say? You know, and you had a question? No.
Rabbi, going back to number 16 for a second, why would we have to wait until Seitzah Kocham?
Why wouldn't you have to wait till after Tzeta Kochavim in order? It is a shvut, but that's why he says if you have a lot of guests, you make it a shvut, and you could even do it during Ben Hashem Hashot. But after Ben Hashem Hashot, it should be considered. No, after Ben Hashem Hashot, it is Tzeta Kochavim. What am I saying? That is Tzeta Kochavim.
What's your question?
What do you mean? Tzeit is after Ben Hashem Hashot.
Wait till Shabbos is completely over?
He's asking, because you wrote that you can already start setting the table.
After Ben Hashem Hashot. I think I wrote after, no?
While it's still Shabbat or when?
Until after.
Oh, after Ben Hashem.
But after Ben Hashem Hashot, it's Tzeta Kochavim. Right? You have Shkia, Ben Hashem Hashot, and Tzeta Kochavim.
After Ben Hashem Hashot.
Right, so whatever it is. In Florida, let's say you do 31, 36, 41. But I wrote the times on top anyway.
So after the end, not.
Yes. So this is the end of the first part of the Shi'ur, and that's just erev, pesah, shechad, yom, Shabbat. Any other question on this or no? We know how to do Sudah Shlishit, to pray in the morning. If you should eat matzah, you shouldn't eat matzah. Matzah ashira for the Ashkenazim who are going to make 2 meals, right? Even though they might not want to. And they're going to do the fruit after, like Rosh Shmuel Kamenetsky, Rosh Shlomo Zalman Auerbach. Make sense? Fine. Next item is going to be bedikat hametz. So now we get to bedikat hametz. There's a very interesting midrash. Midrash brings down that Esther Hamalka, Esther the queen, actually did bedikat hametz the night of Balei Lahahu. When it says in the Megillah, Balei Lahahu, when he couldn't sleep, the king, she was in the middle of doing bedikat hametz. She took 10 pieces of bread and she put it around and she was looking for it. And the midrash brings down, in merit of bedikat hametz, the Jews were saved. And the 10 pieces of bread that she looked for and she found, those were corresponding in essence what killed the 10 sons of Haman, were the 10 breads. So it's a very important mitzvah bedikat hametz. Now again, whoever is going to a hotel or not a hotel, exactly how it works, the 13th, the 14th, if you get there before, if you're renting your house, if you're selling your house, we're not going to discuss all these different intricate things. If you have to check the whole house, if you close up rooms, if you go into the rooms after you close it up, okay, we're going to talk about that after, whoever wants to know. This is going to be a very simple. Now, Arshtins, first of all, the house should be cleaned before you do bedikat hametz, right? It's a davar pashut. You should clean the house before you do it. If the house is very, very big and you're not able to do it this year for some reason, I know last year the rabbis paskined this for sure because of the whole coronavirus that we were involved in. So we're still involved in it. If you can't do it, then you should close up some of the rooms and just not go into them on Shabbat, even if they might have hametz in it or whatever it is like that. The pieces that you put out should be less than a kazayit, right? Why should it be less than a kazayit? I remember when I was younger, we used to go and put out a big piece. And my father used to say, what if I lose it? If you don't find that piece and I have hametz in my house, make sure it's less than a kazayit, because then if you're going to go and nullify it after, it's going to be okay because it's not considered a piece of bread. When your wife and child hide it, and this is what I do by me, make sure you write it down, because a lot of times they forget where it is, and then you have Avi's laughing.
Yeah.
It happened to you. Yeah. You forget where it is, and then you have to look for it again and again and again.
Yeah.
That's also why it should be less than a
Yes, exactly, just in case it gets lost. Right,
If
right.
you don't find it, it's okay.
You make the beracha on a candle. So you have a candle, make sure it's not a torch. Most people don't have torches, right? But if you have the Havdalah candle, it's going to be an issue. So you can't use it. You're not Yotzei the mitzvah. It has to be a regular candle. But after you make the beracha on the candle, you're going to use a flashlight because there's many places you can't get with the candle, right? The people who go under their bed, they're just not smart people, right? Or you go into your car, right? Because you're mechuyev to also check your car. That's the place you have to check before anything. You have kids. There's hametz everywhere, right? I'm sure. I don't remember. I know there's someone here that used to do car cleaning last year. Maybe he's not here.
I guess he's not.
There's a sign on Sheridan
For car cleaning.
and 46.
Yeah, so you have to get your car cleaned, and then you have to check it also. You check it with a flashlight, because you can't get into the crevices with a candle, and it's not a smart thing to do, because you're going to burn down your house.
I just like looking around.
Yes, you have an no, but then they find out what it was for, and they get angry. Now, another misconception is that you're supposed to close the lights when you check. You're not supposed to close the lights when you check, Ike. You're supposed to leave all of them on, right? To make sure that you could see more. Well, you don't like it. You're supposed to close?
We closed it.
Okay, so make sure they're on.
What's the point of the flashlight?
Oh, the flashlight is for all the crevices and under the bed where the light doesn't go. But you're not. You see, this is a misconception. We have 3 people. That 4, 5, 6,
I think you have both.
7. Yeah, you don't. I know. I remember when I was younger. I also do that. I used to close it, and it was like this, and you have a fire. How are you gonna find hametz if you close all the lights and you have this little fire?
But with the candle, you see much better against the dark.
Mapitom. If you turn on the lights, then you see everything, and the little places that you can't see, then you have the flashlight or the candle.
Why do you think the tank lights
Feels
off?
like
Because
it's
you can pick up on details and focusing on
Makes
one
it
thing
too
at a
easy.
time.
Yeah.
That's the reason why you
It's
turn
supposed to be hard.
Don't turn off the lights. Okay, are we good here? Make sure the lights are on. Don't turn off the lights. So you get the mitzvah to the fullest. The rabbis bring down, what's something you should look for? Something the size of a Cheerio. And honestly, if you're going to, how are you going to go with a flashlight, with a candle everywhere? So you get the details in the corners, ain't a chanami, but what about the whole room? Unless you're going like this. It's not going to work. Leave the lights on. Okay, all the poskim say, you leave the lights on. Fine.
I mean, you're usually doing that after you've already cleaned your house.
Yeah.
Right, so but at that point, it's almost like, it's traditional that you're turning off the lights.
Right, it
and
makes it look,
checking.
and you know
then
what?
your house is clean.
But Ken, it's traditional to go and have that little feather. You still use it in a spoon? Nobody uses it. No, you don't use a feather in a spoon. Okay, tradition
Keeps
sometimes.
life happy.
Rabbi Vadia brings down, minhag is the same letters as Gehinam. Okay? So if you want to have traditions, what?
Who says that?
Rabbi Vadia. A lot of time, yeah, he says, a lot of people say minhagim, and minhag is Gehinam. It's the same thing.
He said it's accepted, he says it?
What's accepted?
He says it, you wrote it down?
Yeah, he writes it in his book. That doesn't mean all minhagim, right? The minhag is to have 2 meals before, right? That's not the Gehinam. That's the other thing. No, that's a good thing too. Okay, the last part of this shir. We're only going to talk about this very, very concise about this, because I actually want to make another shir. Not everyone has to come to it, but it's going to be about exactly how to do the seder. So that's a big issue also. You have a lot of people who eat a lot more matzah than they have to eat. A lot of people who lean the wrong way. A lot of people who don't know if they should use grape juice or wine, mavushal, not mavushal. What do women have to lean? Do they not have to lean? And all these different things, which are very, very important. So God willing, we'll make another shiur about that. But since time is of the essence, we're going to talk a little bit about hechsher kelim. Nachon? Hechsher kelim. So now we want to go and kasher the things in our houses. How exactly is it done? So now, does anyone have any specific item that they want to talk about, or should I just go through all these different things?
Pyrex.
A Pyrex.
Same.
Yeah.
I don't mind. This is being recorded, so I'll say let's talk about Pyrexes. Because Ken was by my house last week and he heard that I had a little pet peeve about Pyrexes. So now we all know there's a big dispute between the Sfaradim and Ashkenazim about glass. According to Ashkenazim, glass is bolea, glass sucks in and it's a problem, it doesn't come out and you're afraid it's going to break and it's going to be an issue. So you're not allowed to go and kasher that. From basar v'chalav, from meat and milk, or for Pesach, according to Sfaradim, you can eat meat and then you can eat milk. And then you can go and use it for Pesach or not Pesach. It all doesn't make a difference. Once you have glass, you're good. Right? According to many, the minhag is not like that anymore, because nowadays they put different things in the glass. Fine. But according to the Oletzion and the Bovadia, among the other rabbis, right? I remember there was a Rabbi Huda Maslaton, he argues with it. He says, not anymore today. But okay, let's say we're going with that. It's going to be okay. How does it work with things like Pyrexes and Duralexes? So they bring it down, the halacha, that it's going to be okay. You could still use it. Nowadays, a lot of people don't like it because if you look at the side of the Pyrex and the Duralex, it's going to have like yellow. It's going to get tainted and tinted. And it's going to be an issue. You see, it does boleh, it does suck in. So they say it shouldn't be used. But the Maal says, since you have Odalitzion, the Bovada, you want to use it, you clean it well, and it's going to be okay. Now, even according to the Ashkenazim, right? So now how is this going to work? According to the Ashkenazim that hold that it's not, that it's a problem because you're afraid that it's going to break, since Pyrexes and Duralexes in general are tempered glass, and they don't break, you could put it in an oven at 500 degrees, it will not be a problem to kasher it. And when I had this Sivara, I saw after the Tzitzit Eliezer brought it down, the Har Tzivi brought it down, I asked a very chashav posek, out of Mordechai Masaton, he said it as well. He said it makes sense, and even Ashkenazim could go and kasher this. Now, why are we talking about Pyrex and Duralexes? You could just buy a new one, because it comes into play when we have stovetops. We're in Florida and everything's electric, you have a glass stovetop, so how are you supposed to kasher this? So according to Sfaradim, Ba'atzim, you don't have to kasher it, right? Because it's a glass. But they have little items inside of it, different metals or cheres that's inside of it. So the rabbis hold that you can go and pour water on top of it, it's going to be okay. Do not pour water with the fires on because that'll break it. So that's not what we do. So you just do one of them. Or you put two and then two, you do something like that, you leave it on for 10 minutes. According to this, even Ashkenazim can kasher it because since the stovetop is meant to get that hot, memela it's going to be okay. Right, it's a hidush, but now that I said it already and it's live, you can't take it back. So that's what it is, and that's what the rabbis paskin for Ashkenazim as well. So that's Sfaradim and Ashkenazim. Then we come up to the next item, and what was that? You said Pyrex. Anyone else has a question? Should I just go through what I have over here in my head? Yeah, has he?
Yeah.
Get off your phone.
What about a
My
sink?
wife.
Stainless steel sink.
So you have a stainless steel sink.
Taking notes.
Very good. Stainless steel sink. According to Ashkenazim, what should be done? You should go and you should take hot water and you should pour it on, or you should get the grates like Rav Moshe. Why? Because we're afraid that all the guk and the items are going to come up if it ever overflows. If it stops up, and then it's going to, you're going to have meat, you're going to have milk, you're going to have hametz, not hametz, it's going to go into it. So what do they say you should do? You should take hot water, boiling water, and you should pour it on all parts of the sink, which is very difficult because sinks aren't flat. So you have to keep on doing it in different ways, and then it gets cold, and then you have to do it again. Now, even for Sfaradim, when someone asks me, I say, do it. Why not? Chumra de Pesach, right? There's a Chumra de Pesach. We're stringent on Pesach, and you should do it. I said over, the Kafachim brings down that they used to paint their houses every day, the Sfaradim. Why? Because just in case a kid was touching dough and he touched the wall, so it's a Chumra de Pesach, and that's what you should do. Now, according to the Or L'Tzion, he brings down very stark, there's no problem with sinks whatsoever. He said, not only that, but let's say you go into a Goyish house, a not Jewish house, and you want to go and use the sink. He says, if you're going to say, oh, it's Corel, it's porcelain, I can't use it, it's unkosherable, he says it's Bal Tashchit, you're going to throw it at the sink? He said, there's no problem whatsoever. Why? Why is there no problem? He said, first of all, because it's a Kli Sheni. It's never a Kli Rishon, because the boiler is the Kli Rishon. It goes through, I'm sorry, this is like a real shir now. It goes through the metal pipe, it goes into the sink, and now the sink is going to be a Kli Sheni. He said, second of all, people never make it that hot, because you don't want to burn your hand to that extent. So no woman goes and turns on the water that hot to clean the dishes. He said, third of all, you never have mamashut. He says, usually there's not mamashas. If you do have mamashas, you're always using soap, and that's pagum. So you make it, you nifgam it. You made it pagum. So now what are you chashish for? You're basically not chashish for anything. I actually have it over here. I hope I got all those things right that I just said. But just to make sure. Oh, he says also there's another thing. He says rov tashmisho. There's a din by the Sfaradim, at least by Ashkenazim also. Sometimes they use it. According to the Ramah, Rabbi Elbaz brought it down. That it's rov tashmisho. Something that you use more is the way that you have to kasher it. So what does that mean? If you have a pot, if you have a, what's it called? The pot that you make a roasting pot. You have a roasting pot. No, let's say better. You have a soup pot. Not smoker. Smoker's for after. You have a soup pot that you always make soup in it, and now you're like, shoot, my roasting pot is not here, so I want to go and take this roast and put it in the soup pot and make it roasting. And then your kid goes and throws in milk, so now you have to kasher it. So you should be able to, you have to kasher it. Now libun, you have to use a fire because it's roast. You can't just do hagala, you can't take hot water and do it. So there's a din of rov tashmisha. No, since rov tashmisha, the most usage you use is going to be hagala, you could do hagala over here also. You got me? It's a little bit complicated. Maybe I'll give you the notes after. So since you're allowed to do that, you can do Haggadah after. He says the same thing over here. Rov tashmisho, how do you use a sink? You use it for cold. And Memela, even if you use it for hot, sometimes it's not a problem. So he says it's not going to be an issue whatsoever. And he says this even for the Ashkenazim. He says the Ashkenazim who wanna not get rid of their goyish sink, or even on Pesach. But Lamaisa, we still have the minhag to do it. Fine. The same thing's going to apply to countertops. The etzim he brings down countertops, you don't have to kasher. He says, because Rov tashmisho, who puts down regular food on a counter? Nobody. Where do you put it down, Joey? You put it down in a pot. Right? The pot is not liquid, there's no liquid under it. So you take a pot, it's dry. Dry is no problem.
Good spell.
So let's say it spills. So if it spills, it's not Kli Rishon anymore. So now it's going to be Kli Sheni. And even if it is Kli Rishon somehow, that it goes like a I don't know. It goes, the water goes all the way like this. It's Irui Kli Rishon, so you want to say it's Yamak B'Kidei Kilipa. Fine. So then you have to worry about it in the same exact spot that milk fell, sometime meat fell in that spot. It's not so mistaber that's going to be an issue. And that's why he says, Ba'atzim, you don't have to do it. We still do it. But it's always good to know. These tzirufim you use in a lot of different places. When people come to you and say, oh, I don't know what to do now. Okay, don't worry about it. It's not the biggest deal in the world. Now, I asked a posek once, he says maybe in Israel it could be more problematic because they're really using their counter space much more. So they take their challah and they put it off and it's hot, or they put on different things. So maybe in Israel it could be a different issue. But over here, for the most part, it's not. But we should still do hechshed, and or you cover it, or you do something like that. So that's the same din by sinks to all this and brings it down by grand in the countertops. And it seems like the pashtus that would apply to Ashkenazim and Sfaradim alike. Anything else in particular?
So how do you bring barbecue?
Barbecue. So what do you say? So you have a barbecue. Now you want to use your barbecue on Chol HaMoed, right? Even though Rav Yitzchak Sorotzky and the rabbis, they don't like it. They said it takes away the whole Yom Tov thing. You make a barbecue like this. Actually, I saw an interesting halacha. I don't understand it very much, but he says that barbecue could be a problem of boneh, because you're taking coals and you're making it into a structure. Okay, no. But you want to make a barbecue, right? It's the new in thing.
On Yom Tov also, you can make one.
Right. On Yom Tov.
It's part of the spirit, you know?
To make a barbecue.
Korban pesach, you know?
You're not supposed to have a korban pesach. Even parenthetically, the meat that you buy, you can't say this is, you buy the shank bone, you can't say this is korban pesach, it's asur. It's a big problem if you could eat it now. You have to say, you point to it. Zecher the korban pesach. You're supposed to say, this meat is not, you're not even supposed to say, this meat is for pesach. This meat is for, you have to say, this meat is for Yom Tov. They bring down, because once it's for pesach, it's a hold on a second. Now you just made it holy. It's kadosh. So you make sure not to do that. Now you have a barbecue grill. The best way to do it is you turn it on the highest, and then you put coals or you put a log in there, and you make it go up to 1,000 degrees. You do 1,000 degrees, you put it on for 30 minutes, and you're good. No problem. The same thing with the smoker. You have a smoker. You're going to go and do it to the hottest. There's always no mamashut, but once it hits 1,000, the mamashut is already, it's charcoal. It's not going to be any issue with that.
You could say that, forget about pesach, just if you find a random barbecue, you could say the same thing?
Sure. Sure, I apply to anything.
1,000 degrees, I'm not sure they all get to 1,000.
If you put a log in there?
No, the gas barbecue.
No, that's going to get it to 550, 600. But if you put a log or coals in there, then it'll go up to 1,500, easy.
So gas barbecue, you have to put physically something.
Yeah, they say you should put it more because it's a big machlok in the Mishnah Berurah, among others. If you have, if libun has to be if you want to kasher something, does it have to be the exact way that it came? Because it only came up to 750. It can't go anymore. They bring down, no, you should do it even more. Okay, so that's what we're machmir on. So you put in coals, it's not a big deal. An oven, you put on self-clean and you're fine.
The grates don't have to glow because you're putting food on the grates.
So that's a good question. Be'etzim, and this is even according to Rav Moshe Feinstein, the grates never have to be kasher. Because they're always kasher. Once you turn on the fire, they're always kasher. And Rabbi Felder brings down, I'm sorry, we're getting into a lot of different things. Rabbi Felder brings down that juice never hits it anyway. What are the odds that it went and it rolled down the pot and went under to a place?
We're talking about a grill, barbecue.
Oh, the grates itself. Oh, I'm sorry, I thought the grates of those things. Okay, so the grates of things we're good with. Regarding a grill.
The grill, because you put the food on the grill, so then you would think.
So that's what you do, you put the coals on the grill, sure.
But the grates of the grill doesn't have to get red?
It will. It will. Nowadays, it happens to be nowadays, because you're saying libun itself has to be that it gets red hot and it has to take away whatever is inside.
Directly on the grate, it's a different cheshbon than if you take your oven grates and you put them in the self-clean, that's one thing. Because you don't put food directly on the oven grate.
Why? You do. Take challah all the time. You take pita, you put it on. We still do it, but nowadays they actually bring down, interesting scientifically, they bring down that it's never, whatever comes out of the metal, nothing ever comes out of the metal. The metal is made so pure now, so the red hot thing, or even what comes out, is not even negeya now, because it doesn't do that. Right? It says not even red, it says to get to white, but that usually doesn't happen. But for the most part, if it reaches 12, 13, 1400 degrees, it's gonna burn off anything, which could be a different issue, because a lot of times you have those grates and it's seasoned, and then you're makbid, okay, it's seasoned, I don't want to ruin the season now, or I don't want to ruin the thing, so people don't want to do it, so that could be an issue. Now we're going in an oven, you put it on the highest, and that's going to be okay. If you don't have it, you put it on for an hour, and that's going to be fine. Right, not for basar v'chalav. That's a whole different thing. We spoke about that the other time. Or you put it on the self-clean, and that's for sure going to be fine. Anything else in kashering, or we're good for the day?
Dishwasher? Knives with plastic handles?
You're killing me now. So you have a knife with a plastic handle, so now it all depends. So let's say you want to kasher it. If guk could get inside the handle of the knife, then they say it's not kasherable, because you have to go and take a blowtorch and get in there, and since you're going to ruin the plastic, you're never going to want to do that. Mamela, it's going to be a problem, so you can't do that. Right? You brillo it, and then you go and you do hagala. If it's a chashav knife or it's a totally metal knife. A dishwasher is a whole inyan in itself. Dishwashers, the Arlet Sion brings down that. Okay, even though it's recorded, don't quote me on this. But you don't have to kasher a dishwasher, right? Which sounds a little bit crazy. It's like, what do you mean? Hold on a second, Rabbi. Huh?
You don't have to run it just one time alone?
Right, so we do that. And the Ashkenazim are makbid to do that. But according to Sfaradim, and again, this is going to blow your mind a little bit, that not only you're allowed to use a dishwasher for meat and for milk, you're allowed to use it for meat and milk at the same time. And he says this even for the Ashkenazim basim. How so? How can you use it? So now it all depends, right? The Magin Ba'adi brings this down as well. Chacham Matlub Abadi, he brings this down. He has a tshuva on it also. Yeah, nachon. Now he says it all depends how the dishwasher works. If it sprays out the water, or if it fills up with water and then heats up like that. So for the most part, you have to know how it works. But I think it sprays out water. So now if it sprays out water, so then it's not kli rishon anymore. It's a kli sheni. And you don't have mamashut on it, because you always rinse it out before and then you put it in. So you're always going to have 60 to the water. The water's going to be 60 towards whatever's there. And he says that it's going to be pagum anyway. You do soap. When does the soap come out? Yeah, there's soap before, soap after. So if people only have dishwasher in their makbetz, I would say you take the meat and you put it in one area. Again, this is, okay, you see, you killed me, Avi. You put it in one area, you take soap, you make it pugum, you put it on top, so then even if the water goes and hits it, it's not going to be a problem, because it's already pugum. Right? So that's what he brings down. But he brings down at the end of the Arlet Sion, he says, but L'maaseh, he says you have to know. He doesn't say you have to. He doesn't say tzarich iyun, but he says you have to know if how it works, especially by a non-Jew. If you have a non-Jew, how do they do it? Do they put meat and milk together? Do they put soap in it before? You have to know how it works. Do they have mamashut all over? But nowadays, if you do want to do it for Pesach, you're going to go. You want to switch the racks like the Ashkenazim goes into. Hey, you don't want to switch the racks. You're going to do a clean. I think Rabbi Shrek told me what he does. He does one with soap and then he does one without soap. Okay, you want to do two, right? In Lav Dafka you have to do that. So you do one with soap and then you go and you kasher the dishwasher in that way, and then you won't have anything. There is a little piece on the bottom. You should always make sure there's a little piece on the bottom that has a lot of gook inside. A lot of gook. So you have to know how to open that piece and take out whatever garbage is inside of there. We're good?
Yeah.
You want to Kaddish? Okay. Chazak u'baruch. B'ezrat Hashem, if we have another class on the Seder, we'll let everyone know.